So with my talk, just mentioning my background as doing yoga intuitively since I was a teenager in Labrador, I do feel like I did it in a past life. Um, it was always about coming closer to the spiritual world. I became a certified yoga instructor through the Himalayan Raja style of yoga in 2016 with Yoga Alliance, and then I also have done what's called Yin Yoga training. And I started to teach yoga over Zoom when the pandemic started, and now I teach yoga at Calgary First Spiritualist Church. As a minister, as an associate minister at Calgary First, I will be drawing on some of my accumulated spiritualist knowledge for this talk, but also, of course, as a yoga instructor and a practitioner, and evolving and growing in both these systems, which I feel are very much um, empathetic to one another, very much resonate with one another. So I like to start with a bit of an experiential exercise. So for everybody where you're sitting right now, and just I'd like you to all to feel the support of your chair or your couch, or maybe you're sitting on the floor or lying down. Just take a minute to really situate yourself within your body, feeling the places where your body connects with your supports, and let yourself just relax into those supports. And feel yourself to be grounded if your feet are on the floor, just feeling that grounding that the earth brings us. Taking a nice, deep, big breath in, feeling the warm air entering through your nostrils, your mouth, and slowly moving into your lungs. And as you exhale, also feel the warmth of your breath, noticing your breath entering in your body, bringing all that life force energy, prana, divine force energy. And take one more slow, deep breath in, and an even slower, longer breath out. And as you exhale, just releasing any tensions or stressors, any busyness in your mind. And each in-breath, you feel this expansiveness of your awareness as you become more centered and grounded. All right. Does this sound familiar? Bringing your awareness back into this beautiful Zoom space created by Eternity Connection. So we've just done yoga. You've just done yoga. And so what is yoga? Is it exercise? Is it stretching? Is it, a, doing 108 downward dogs or sun salutations? I think this is a common misconception that it's been perpetuated in our Western world. When we think about yoga, most of us think about the poses, but actually the word yoga means to yoke, join or unite with a higher consciousness. I'll just tell you a little bit of a background of yoga. There are some sacred texts that yoga draws from, and the Bhagavad Gita, which it means the Song of the Lord, is the first mentioned of the teaching of yoga. It's written in Sanskrit in the 3rd or 4th century BCE. So this is a spiritual text of Hinduism. It also mentions yoga. The first mention of yoga is as selfless service, being the quickest path to realizing the divine. So no mention of stretching or or exercise there. It is a selfless service. So karma yoga is defined as one of the yogas, which means selfless service. And we are serving divine energy. Or divine, as they said, Brahman, the ultimate being, the Lord. And once established in karma yoga, one can proceed to the deeper practice of meditation that leads to a state of equanimity and detachment from the fruits of one's activity. So from there, the Gita talks about yoga as bhakti yoga, which is the path of devotion, and jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. So there's many types of yoga where you can achieve the divine. You can achieve that divine bliss state, which I will just mention later. The Upanishads are a series of writings, again, very ancient over time. Upanishad meaning seated at the knee of the sage. So these sages retreated from the organized religions of the time of, the caste system, and they fled to the forests, the northern parts of India, and they set up these ashrams, which are now known as spiritual retreats. And I have been told ash means tree. So in Sanskrit, so they are like forest homes. And if you wanted to go and become enlightened in India, you could go to an ashram and you could learn these beautiful traditions that had been handed down through millennia by sages and gurus. One of which is the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, written in the 2nd or 3rd century AD. And sorry, my my BCE and all the it's all over the place. I apologize for that. But Patanjali was a sage, they say, that compiled what was spoken into writing. The Yoga Sutras are a series of aphorisms or sayings. Patanjali, his name means falling leaves, and the angel mudra or prayer hands. So a beautiful meaning. The falling leaves of these sutras with your hands in the Anjali or angel mudra. Sutra itself means string or thread, the su and the tra meaning to transcend. So he introduced the 8 limbs of yoga, which still practiced today, called Ashtanga yoga, the royal path or Raja yoga. And I won't go through them all as for time, but they are a series of observances, restraints. In other words, don't steal, don't hurt people. Observances, for instance, self-discipline, self-study, self-surrender to the higher power. Ishvara, which is known as the highest self or the God force. The postures were one of the limbs. So the asanas that we practice today were just one of the 8. Those are all the seated postures for meditation originally. And when Hatha yoga came in, which is what we mostly think yoga is today, it came in at medieval times, actually, in India, written in the 15th century. All the poses were recorded at that time. The asanas, as we know them, came in, and they are really working with the chakra system. It's called chakra, not chakra. That means something different in Sanskrit, apparently. So the chakra system came in as part of the controlling and expanding of your energy body, pranayama, working with these chakras and your aura, something we know in spiritualism, which we are aware of through spiritual healing. Our source of information being yoga, right? We know about the energy channels in our auric body through yoga. The nadis are called the rivers of energy, and the vayus are the energy flows and how to move them. So that all comes from this yogic system. Sense withdrawal, pratyahara, that's what we just did at the beginning, our exercise. Dharana, concentration, when we sit in the power, meditation. Dhyana, also sitting in the power. Absorption into spirit is the pinnacle. The goal of yoga is absorbing into the spirit, samadhi, self-realization. And in spiritualism, we believe when we sit in the power, we become one with the divine. We merge our energy, our power with that of spirit. So we move into that state where we can be in that state of spiritual fellowship, if you will, where we can sit with spirit, where we can bring our vibration to that refined quality in which spirit resides, and which is also known as, for some, heaven, which is known as the spirit world, and a whole bunch of other terms coming from different traditions. So the very first um, Yoga Sutra, Hatha Yoga Nusasanam, just means now we begin the practice of yoga. In yoga, there is very much, um, say, like a focus on the eternal now. So now is what we have. Now is where all the power resides. Now is where we join or unite with our higher consciousness and the consciousness of the divine. And as Patanjali states, now is where we join with spirit. It's very powerful. It's a very powerful state to be fully present in the now. And that is also the base, the foundation of mindfulness and all the mindfulness meditations. It's being in a detached state, not becoming attached to any result, but just being able to be situated in the here and the now, which in a very paradoxical way is every time. It's past, present, and future. So it is a very incredibly empowering and blissful place, truly like a samadhi, or as the Buddhists call it, nirvana, right? No mind, because we want to transcend our ego mind. We want to connect with the higher mind, the higher self, the buddhi, which is the awakened mind. So, like spiritualism, yoga is a philosophy, it's a practice. It is a science. There's been lots of scientific studies of renowned yogis studied, or research produced on using different very advanced swamis in different traditions. Science is still catching up on all of this. The ability to slow your brain, the ability to slow down the brain waves, literally, where in science they say, well, one can't clearly be conscious in that state, and yet somebody is talking to them in that state, and they can measure the brain waves really are almost stilled to nothing, which is only, for most of us, only in a deep sleep. So these kind of studies are quite remarkable. Um, and hence, with spiritualism, we also believe that spiritualism is one of the most studied religions ever, as far as how, and there are still studies going on today in spiritualism of all the phenomena that happens with spiritualism, including mediumship. And well, we know it as para psychology as well. And of course, with yoga, like spiritualism, there is that, for some, it is a religion. So if it's grounded in Tibetan or Buddhist practice or Hinduism, it's a religion. It can be a secular practice. Some say that Samkhya yoga was the first secular practice of any spiritual system ever known. That was a branch of yoga. There are so many different branches to this tree, but we won't get into that. Um, so the Western practice of yoga, as I said, emphasizes the exercise of Hatha yoga, the third limb, which is really about the asanas and all around the health benefits to yoga, as outlined in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which was produced in the medieval times. And that is a very entertaining book, because really things have changed a lot about what's considered a good practice for yoga. I won't get into it over much, but for instance, I'll just read you a little piece here. It says the Hatha yogi should live in a secluded hut free of stones, fires, and dampness, to a distance of 4 cubits in a country that is properly governed, virtuous, prosperous, and peaceful. So there you go. You've got to get a nice secluded hut if you want to be a good Hatha yogi. So there's a lot of other very interesting pithy remarks in that book. But Pradipika itself means to flame forth, and it's the verb is in Sanskrit to flame forth, and they say it's like yoga is like a lantern, burning the light, dispelling the ignorance, showing the way, so to speak. So it was a beautiful title to this manual that informs most of what we know of yoga today. So when I think of yoga similarities to spiritualism, I also think about the seven principles. You know, the seven principles is what I want to talk about next with Emma Hardin Britton's sort of how she formulated those principles. And from the reading that I have done, I understand that so many of the principles have been informed by spirit guides, by gurus, by, you know, her own trance speaking. It's a very mystical process. And the mysticism in any spiritual system is defined by somebody being directly and being able to directly connect to the power of God or the divine, you know, without the intercession of priests or anyone else having to interpret your direct connection. So having that awareness with the seven principles, they are all informed by natural laws which are contained within our spiritualist philosophy that has been informed over the years by our mediums, mystics, spirit guides, such as Silver Birch. And, you know, with yoga as well, enlightenment can be received, they say, by the guru who could be in spirit, who could be in person, who could be living across the continent but appear to you in person. Um,
Mhm.
and they can confer this enlightenment upon you. It's called Shakti Pat, Shakti meaning power. So they can confer the power upon you. So when I think about that active creative force of the divine, which is called Kundalini Shakti, it's, you know, it is that serpent coiled around our root chakra. It's that represented as a serpent, and it is able to be released, that force, just by this conference of power. And that immediately puts me to mind to sitting in the power, which is again like Shakti meaning power. When we sit in the power, we are there to awaken or unfold a higher consciousness and awareness of the spirit world. Interesting similarity there. You know, that
Wait a
really
minute.
I just want to mention the Yoga Sutras. Do If you read them and you read the part where the yoga practitioner is advised in the Yoga Sutras, they're advised that they will access and obtain all the spiritual perceptions that we have in spiritualism. They will have all the clairs. They outline the whole thing. It's quite fascinating. They say that you will meet celestial beings, and please just don't get distracted. Don't allow your ego to get taken up by this, because if you do, you might not achieve your end goal, which is to become enlightened. So, with having said
Mhm.
that, I'm just going to close with one of my one of my spiritualist teachers, Maureen McClellan, told me that all mediumship is healing. So, like yoga in spiritualism, we are all on a healing path of our souls and spirit's growth. It never ends, and that's both according to the Yoga Sutras and spiritualist philosophy, as embodied by our fourth principle. We all evolve. We are all growing. This is our birthright as a spirit. Um, and in the spirit of that profound yet simple statement, I will close with an affirmation written by Glenn Edwards, a well-known and respected spiritualist medium. I am one with the infinite loving spirit. I release all discord and negativity from my life. I am an authentic representative of eternal goodness. I practice non-injury in thoughts, words, and deeds, and realize that all is equal in the eyes of the divine. I am selfless in my actions, truthful, and open to myself and others. I follow God and the Spirit's direction and perform all actions with the aim of growing closer to spiritual living. Thank you for inviting me to be speaker today, and I look forward to
Thank
speaking
you.
again. Thank you.
Thank you, Rowan. What a lovely way to finish your talk with that affirmation from John Edwards. Indeed, and how we, the the parallels between yoga and spiritualism. Indeed, we are all on a journey back to God, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, lovely.